Now, today we're going to be focusing on how clients can have a positive impact on the communities they visit. And we're going to discuss two of TTC Tour Brand's fantastic Make Travel Matter experiences. Now, Scarlett, I know as Sustainability Manager, you've done a lot of work on sourcing this range of experiences. Could you give us a bit of an introduction to what they are?
Yes, absolutely. It would be my pleasure. So my name's Scarlett. I'm the Sustainability Manager for Travel Experiences within TTC for 4 of our brands. And Make Travel Matter experiences are really exciting experiences that you can find across all of our travel brands at the Travel Corporation. They're experiences which are chosen uniquely for the impact that they have on their community or their environment. So they're conscious, responsible travel experiences that we have included in every itinerary for two reasons, but many more. First of all, it gives us the opportunity to raise awareness to our guests. So it has the opportunity to talk about all sorts of topics which are important for the entire planet and ourselves, and to have it as an inclusion with the itinerary. So it's really important that it's not optional, but that it's just part of the tour. And then the second really important aspect is that it gives us the possibility to give back to those destinations that we visit in a very tangible way. So we can support associations, NGOs, small companies, brilliant businesses who are doing fantastic jobs, and ensuring that we're giving back to those destinations, hopefully in a way that they want to be given back to. So that allows for a lot of creativity. It allows for a lot of diversity, and we can talk about diversity from bees. Behind me, we have a lot of experiences which are about biodiversity and looking after our insect species and getting in touch with the miraculous healing powers of bees, to underwater activities of coral reef growing, which we'll go into in more detail, to visiting farms who have fantastic biodynamic or sustainable practices, and really highlighting and showcasing solutions and communities who are looking after their environment and their community.
Fantastic, thank you. Let's start by looking at one of your Make Travel Matter experiences in Sicily, the
Yeah.
anti-mafia walking tour in Palermo. Tell us about that one.
So this is a really exciting experience, and so obviously the Sicilian mob, it's well known. The mafia are a very interesting subject, but I think it's really interesting how they're tied into modern day politics as well. So the ethical travel company Adio Pizzo, which I hope I'm pronouncing correctly, we work with them in order to do a tour about the anti-mafia movement which is spreading in Palermo. And our guests get the opportunity to meet one of these guides, walk through Palermo, and understand and deepen their knowledge on this, of course, really moving history, going through those particular landmarks, which can be really moving, but also connecting that to today. So Adio Pizzo are working to create the mafia-free critical consumption campaign, and they'll show our guests as they walk around that there are locals who have stickers in their window supporting and connected to that campaign. So these local businesses we can support, and our guests can learn the behavior which is useful for that particular destination of Palermo, so they can support those businesses who are refusing to be taken advantage of. And as we grow this movement, the less and less possibility there is for those locals to be taken advantage, and through the extortion racket and having to be part of that, which is still around today. So it's a really exciting tour, and more than that, I think the impact on the community is so important, because it gives us the opportunity to help Palermo reach its wish to become, to develop a fairer, democratic, and more ethical society. And that also, as ourselves as a travel operator with purchasing power, we choose to include this experience, so that we can also support sustainable development in these areas, especially sustainable development created by an ethical tourism company trying to create a movement, and we then become part of that movement by joining them. So it's really exciting. Yeah.
Brilliant. So it has, I mean, it has a fabulous impact on the community, but clients learn a lot too, don't they, when they're on the tour?
Yes, yes, they learn about the recent and political history of this destination from, you know, from the past to the present. And I think that really is tangible in that space of being able to learn as you're connected to the monuments, but also understand that social change is happening and that you are implicit in it, that they're actually having an impact, but in a very safe way, because it's really open. They can see how people are involved and being supported. They know that we are supporting that movement, and they become part of that movement too. So it's really unique, and I think it's just a great model.
Brilliant. It's fascinating. Thank you. And you've got another really interesting Make Travel Matter experience in Bali,
Yeah.
where travellers learn about the fascinating world of coral. Tell
Yes.
us more about that one.
It's a lovely experience, yeah. So we work with the Coral Triangle Centre, which is a not-for-profit in Bali, and our guests get the opportunity to learn about this very delicate ecosystem of coral through really hands-on experience. And I think that this is another beautiful thing about Make Travel Matter experience. They can be really diverse. So our guests have the opportunity to sit down and get their hands dirty by creating a clay model of a coral reef, and that allows them to understand the fragility whilst, you know, being talked about learning about the coral reef, and they create a piece of it. And not only that, they also have the opportunity to have that lasting impact. They can support and sponsor a piece of coral that gets planted on their behalf in the coral bed, and then they can get updates from it in terms of emails and photographs from the not-for-profit association. So that's really beautiful.
Brilliant. And once again, so it's having a real impact on the ground, isn't it, the experience?
Yeah, exactly, because it's so important all over the world in how we look after coral reefs. And of course, this is going to affect everything for seafaring nations, particularly those communities who live along the coast. So Bali in particular, how is that coral then helping that country, but also, yeah, the communities who live along the coast, and also then raising awareness through travel to ensure that we continue that ability to, yeah, to raise awareness and to continue these beautiful stories. Because if our guests have a positive experience within this activity, it gives the opportunity to tell more people about that, and then, yeah, we're adding to a story which is
Fabulous.
about conserving the environment. And that's really important that we have to do that today. Actually, that's the only option.
Oh, and what sort of feedback do you tend to get from travellers when they've enjoyed one of your Make Travel Matter experiences?
It's really interesting. I think they can be really surprised and also really moved, because for them it's often an experience, for example, that they aren't expecting. We have so many diverse experiences, and for some of the travelers, they'll have seen it pop up in their itinerary, but they won't have had the opportunity to learn about coral before, or bees, or perhaps rewilding, that concept, or the ability, like the possibility to meet a small association in Portugal who have a tradition of painting handkerchiefs with poems. So it's very unique, and they might not not know what to expect.
Yeah.
But often afterwards, the feedback can be that it's a really heartwarming experience and that it's transformational. So that's the power of a brilliant experience. And of course, our travel directors are a big part of the storytelling around them as well. So we really work with our travel directors to ensure that they understand what the experience is and that they're able to frame it well. Because when you have a travel director on board who is prepared to tell the story
Yeah.
and to frame it nicely, it gives it so much more impact. Otherwise, it might be coming out of the blue. So it's really important how we blend it into our itinerary and the reasons why we do it, and ensuring that everybody understands the purpose of these experiences within our itineraries.
Brilliant. And how do you actually measure the impact that the experiences are having?
So we measure the impact by an annual report every year through our impact report from our Tread Right Tread Right Foundation. And actually, it's quite exciting because we've already overrun our goal of having 50% of Make Travel Matter experiences on our itineraries across brands by 2025. We actually have 85% at the moment, and we're tracking
Amazing.
every day, which is fantastic. It's the opportunity to be able to support every destination in a different way, by diversity being key there. So we track it through our impact report, which is released every year, but also on a sort of more personal basis. Myself, as the travel experience manager who works creating, modifying these experiences to ensure that we have the right experiences, because a lot of them are built from scratch with a destination and with a supplier who has a purpose that we want to help them achieve. So I measure it very often by having many conversations with our suppliers, ensuring that we have clear communication, that it's transparent, that they have the tools that they need, that we're willing to be flexible with those suppliers in order to be able to work with them, because it's a lot different for a small NGO to work with the travel corporation than it is to work with a larger supplier. So it's really important for us to establish that model of approaching suppliers carefully, listening to their needs, trying to incorporate them, working with them, making sure that they have that support. And yeah, so I think that's one of the ways that I measure it, in terms of knowing the success of our relationship as well, and knowing that if the supplier is easy, happy to reach me, able to ask me questions, and knows that they can reach out at any time, and that then the feedback from them is positive. Because there will be teething issues. These are new experiences, working in a new way, and there will be issues. But as long as we can overcome them, then it's fantastic. Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you, Scarlett. That was fascinating, and a real insight into just how much of a positive impact travel can have. And now we're going to hear from the Inside Travel Group. We're now joined by Holly Brown, who is the Business Development Manager at Inside Travel Group. Thanks for joining us, Holly.
Thank you for having us.
Let's start by discussing your small group tours, which are designed to take clients to areas where travellers don't traditionally go and benefit communities that have been affected by some of the recent natural disasters in Japan. Could you tell us about one of those?
Yeah, of course. So a great example of one of our small group tours, which visits areas that are lesser visited by tourists, and also have had impact from, for example, the 2011 earthquake and tsunami. One of those tours is called A Northern Soul. So this is all focused north of Tokyo. It visits the Tohoku region, which is the kind of area which everyone knows because of the Fukushima nuclear disaster. I think it's really important to give back to these communities and to visit these areas which have been hugely impacted by tourism, and by a lack of tourism as a result of the natural disaster. This tour specifically visits two towns which are really kind of undervalued, underappreciated and undervisited. And it has stop-offs there so that you can learn a little bit more about the impact that the tsunami had, and also to give back into local businesses and communities which are starting to build back up following on from the disaster. So we really want to benefit tourism in these areas and use travel as a force for good.
Oh, brilliant. Could you give us some examples of how the tours had a positive impact on the ground for the people in the communities there?
Yeah, of course. So the two small towns that are visited the area is called the Sanriku Coast. The two towns which are visited there's lots of local cafes and lots of startup businesses which are trying to encourage tourists back, and all of the profits from these businesses are trying to sort of put money back into the local community and sort of build things back up. I suppose it's really important to say that after the disaster, so many people left their hometowns, left their cities and villages, and it's taken a huge amount to try and encourage people actually to come back to their original hometowns. And there's been a few people who have kind of built up the courage to start up local businesses without the guarantee that people are actually going to come and spend their money there. So I think by including these on the tour and having them as stops is really important to be able to support local businesses and to try and promote their area for tourism, rather than it just being known as that place where there was an earthquake and a tsunami.
Definitely. And have you had good feedback from customers who've been on the tour?
Yeah, we've had really good feedback from people who have been on the tour. I think one of the biggest things is just having people who visited areas where it feels like no one else has been. And I think that can give you like a true Japanese experience rather than visiting some of the areas which are maybe slightly overpopulated or over visited by tourists. It doesn't give you necessarily the most authentic experience. So yeah, it's been really positive feedback on the ground from the tour.
Oh, that's brilliant to hear. Thank you. And as part of your animal welfare policy, you're no longer actively encouraging people to visit the snow monkeys in Japan. Tell us how that decision came about and why it's best that clients avoid them.
Yeah, of course. So we've got very stringent animal welfare policies, particularly as part of us being a B Corp. And we've had sort of regular feedback from clients using the snow monkeys as an example. So there's an area in Japan called Yudanaka, which is nestled in the Japanese Alps. And this area is famous for the Snow Monkey Park, which is a very tiny area and a very tiny wildlife park, which is where snow monkeys are famous from coming down the mountains to bathe in the hot spring baths. But over the years, they used to come down sort of unaided, unaccompanied. But over the past few years, as the area's grown in popularity, the rangers have started sort of coax the monkeys down from the mountain, throw food into the hot spring baths to encourage them to be within the hot spring baths. And it's no longer sort of seeing wildlife in their natural habitat. And I think for us, we'd always rather promote animal welfare as seeing wildlife in its natural habitat, in its natural environment. So we've made an active decision to no longer include Yudanaka within our small group tours. So all of our small group tours from 2025 onwards no longer stop in Yudanaka and promote visiting the snow monkeys. And all of our self-guided adventures, we also don't include Yudanaka within any of our self-guided trips. We'd much rather promote areas like the Kumano Kodo, for example, which is a hiking pilgrimage trail. And along here, you can see the monkeys in their natural habitat. They aren't domesticized, I suppose. If you visit Yudanaka, you're likely to have the monkeys coming up to you to try and sort of take food items off of you or take your belongings in a similar way to the monkey forest in Bali, for example. So we'd much rather people have these more natural interactions with the monkeys and see wildlife in their natural habitat rather than seeing it in what is essentially like a zoo type experience.
And what sort of positive impact has that had on the monkeys and their sort of quality of life?
Yeah, I think it's having a big impact. Of course, there's going to still be huge coachloads of people who do visit that area. It's incredibly famous, but I think for us as a business, we think it's really important to educate people on the impact that their actions can have, and hopefully this can sort of promote using travel or using their experiences to look at animal type experiences in a more positive light. And the same goes for things like animal cafes, like cat cafes or micro pig cafes. Those type of experiences, they're incredibly popular on social media, but nobody's actually thinking of the impact that they're having on the animals themselves.
Perfect. And clients are going to have a better experience as well, aren't they? Seeing them in the wild where they're meant to be.
Yeah, 100%. And I think a huge factor in that is that they're known as the snow monkeys, but actually for 80% of the year, there's no snow in the area. So they are just monkeys. You can see them elsewhere in Japan, and maybe people don't yet realize that.
Perfect. Thank you, Holly. Now we're going to move on to the Q&A section of this session. So please do pop any questions that you've got for Inside Travel Group or for TTC Tour Brands. Hi, so for the Q&A section, we're joined once again by Scarlett from TTC Tour Brands, and I'd like to introduce Gabo Quiros, who is the Global Trade Manager at Inside Travel Group. Thanks for joining us, Gabo. So please do pop any questions that you have for either of them in the Q&A box, and don't forget to answer the poll questions as well for your chance to win some fantastic prizes. So to begin with, Scarlett, I know you feel it's really important that the travel industry really works together to create change and a positive impact. And travel agents are really crucial to that, aren't they, when promoting these kinds of experiences?
Yeah, That's absolutely true. And I do feel extremely passionate about the sort of joint effort that it takes towards moving towards a more sustainable future. And I think that a really inspiring part of that is that so often there is competition in terms of tours and products and so on, but actually towards sustainability, there isn't any competition. It's all about sharing best practices and being uplifted by each other's best practices. We're all absolutely interdependent, because when we look at scope 1, 2 and 3, by the time we get to scope 3 emissions, we see that they're all shared. So my business depends on your business, and we are connected there through scope 3 emissions. So we have to join together on our goals, and we have to help each other on the pathway to net zero. So when you see those people who are really serious about reaching those goals, you'll see them working together across brands, across ideas. And I love being in touch with our suppliers, and also everyone in the tourism industry actually, but also our suppliers and the people and our close connections, the people that we work with, to see how we can create best practices, how we can further our sustainable development goals and our internal goals. So it's really collaborative, and I think that that's a really exciting point to consider, because collaboration is a lot of fun, basically. So yeah.
Brilliant, thank you. And Gabba, your team works so closely with your agent partners, don't you? Do you find that relationship is really important to making sure that agents understand the positive impact that their trip can be having?
Completely, and I think that one of the things that we've seen is that, and there's so many companies doing such a great work as well in that, which is that agents are advocate. Agents have so much power to direct where the client should go to, where they shouldn't go to. There's always sometimes agents have this fear sometimes about, like, maybe having a strong opinion about maybe you shouldn't be doing an elephant ride. Of course, someone comes and says, "Oh, I'm going to be visiting an area. They're going to be doing I don't know, the elephants painting in Thailand, things like that." And sometimes the agent feels like a little bit stressed. They feel like they cannot communicate that to the client to say that's just not right. But I think as operators, it's our job as well to back up and say to the agent, it's fine to do that. It's okay. This is actually part of the education process that we should be doing. And also, I think in areas, one of the worst things that travel can do is that we go to areas, we inject money into the as soon as something happens, we're also very quick to depart and abandon that area very fast. And I think part of us working with agents is to make sure to tell clients that some areas are fine to go. It is fine to go to Turkey. It is for us. It is fine to go to northern Japan. It is fine to go to certain destinations that depend heavily on tourism. So I think that partnership, that communication is key in this.
Mm.
Amazing, thank you. And I'd love to hear some more about your personal experiences from trips that you've been on. Scarlett, have you been on any of your Make Travel Matter experiences that have really hit home, or you really sort of cherish those memories?
That is a great question. I've been within this position for about 7 months now, making many different experiences, and I have invites from all around Europe to go and experience them, because it's wonderful to hear the feedback from people who you work with. Recently, I've been working with 2 women, 2 in Ireland, and also another one in Prague, and they're delighted by having this work, promoting biodiversity. The 2 women in Ireland are creating a tour at the cliffs of Moher, talking about the biodiversity of the cliffs and the incredible birds which are there. And in Prague, we have a wonderful bee experience where our guests learn so much about bees by this really passionate champion of bees. And I would really like to go and visit both, because I hear from them every month to see how they're doing. We're staying in close contact. But the one that I've recently done is actually through our partners, Red Carnation Hotels. So across our brands, you have these Make Travel Matter experiences. And I experienced this tea ceremony, but basically it's tea tasting. And it was really eye-opening for me, because I learned that the usual time that we spend making tea is about 20 seconds. And that in that 20 seconds, we actually we deny ourselves the wonderful experience of what tea can really bring us. So really it should take 4 minutes to make a cup of tea, and with 4 minutes you can enjoy the tea, you can enjoy the health benefits of tea, you can enjoy a break because a tea break could actually be a break if it was 4 minutes and 20 instead of 20 seconds.
Yeah.
And it really opened my eyes to this idea of slowing down, and how that our culture sometimes speeds up so fast that we deny ourselves the best. I mean, we could have a really lovely cup of tea and a really nice break, or we could have just a very chemically cup of tea in 20 seconds. And we've all decided unanimously that we would have that instead of the other option. And so it was really wonderful to do it, because I'd never thought of that before. And that metaphor has stuck heavily in my mind now for the last few months. And I've been using it in my work. Like, we need to slow down.
Brilliant.
Savor the moments.
Oh, thank you. We've got a question here. It says, from Pooja, saying, how can we offer customized travel plans that cater to the specific interests and preferences of local clients? So I think she's asking there about, sort of digging into what clients are really interested in, sort of finding that out, I guess, sort of quite early on in the inquiry. And then where can she find inspiration for finding experiences that might match those interests?
Yeah, that's a lovely idea. So, I mean, we have many different brands, as you're aware, and on Luxury Gold, we really try to cater to our clients' wishes. So it's all about building a relationship with them during the first few days of them being on tour with us, to really understand what are those things that they say when they say, oh, those flowers are beautiful, or they point something out that they like. And our travel directors or travel concierge, pin it in the back of their brain and come back to it. And I often talk to our travel director community a lot to understand who our guests are. And it is constant learning, because things change a lot. So also I'm getting on some specific tours, I noticed that we have more women on these tours, and these women don't drink alcohol. So it's no good making a Make Travel Matter experience of a biodynamic wine tasting, because it just won't be enjoyable. So for me, it's really important to gather the feedback from the travel directors to understand who our guests are. And we have feedback forms that we assess as well, so that we can read about how our guests enjoyed those travel experiences. And then if it's customized on tour, then absolutely, for Luxury Gold, we can make sure that we include these little wow moments dependent on the guest feedback during the tour. So we can surprise them with a lovely gift of flowers, or we can take them somewhere where they might see a botanical garden and learn more about that. And that's what we do for our Luxury Gold tours. And within our other brands, we still have that ability to listen out to our guests' wishes throughout the tour, but they're marketed itineraries. We do also have FIT travel, but that is not within my scope so much. I work for Trafalgar, Insight Vacations, and Cost Saver, and Luxury Gold. But yeah, it's really crucial to keep our finger on the pulse of who our guests are, where they're traveling, what they're interested in. And we are constantly in touch with all of our teams, all of basically our whole supply chain, to get feedback, to see what's working and what's not. And that's why these experiences often change as well.
Lovely, thank you. And we've just come to the end of the session, but Gab, is there anything else you'd like to add onto there, or any other thoughts from you?
Just to add in the whole topic, I think clients are looking for experiences, and sometimes it's hard for them to know what is a positive impact and can be like a negative impact in the environment or in the location or in the culture. And it's our duty to be able to educate agents and clients on really what should be doing and we should not be doing. And sometimes the clients will come to us, ask us for certain products, ask us for certain locations, for certain areas, and we have to educate them and say, in our case, go to the northern Japan. These places was devastated. Go to Ishinomaki, which is an area that we go. And we need to educate ourselves in those locations to be able to confidently sell them, because it's very easy to sell Tokyo. It's very easy to sell geishas. It's not that easy to sell Ishinomaki. You know what I mean? So, and it's our duty to go that extra steps as well to learn, and it's our duty as operators to educate agents as well. So we can say, sell this product, sell with confidence, educate, and then you enhance the experience of a client. And for me, that's what it is building that confidence that it's okay. We start in Tokyo and let's go north for the Earthquake City area. For me, that is the key on all this.
Yeah,
Perfect.
absolutely.
Thank you so much. Thank you both for joining us, and also to Holly, and thank you to everyone for watching. Don't forget to join us again tomorrow at 9:30 a.m. for a session on how clients can enjoy wildlife responsibly. We touched on that briefly today, but we're going to be going into much more detail tomorrow, so make sure you tune in again for that session. We've also got another one tomorrow at 10 a.m. on recognising sustainable experiences. So that's a great lineup for Wednesday. So thank you everyone for joining us, and we will see you again tomorrow.
Thank you so much. Bye.